Reddit's craziest alien conspiracy theories. Theory number 1. If aliens are on this planet, they are likely using the ocean as a place to hide. This theory explains that if aliens are already on Earth, they're probably not hiding in plain sight like, in big cities or the sky. I mean, instead, they're using the ocean. And not just because the ocean is big, but because, it's the perfect hiding spot. Over 80% of the ocean hasn't even been explored. That means that there could be entire underwater bases or alien technology down there. And seriously, we'd have zero idea. The ocean is deeper, darker, and more mysterious than, most people realize. Places like the Mariana Trench are over 36,000 feet deep, and that's so deep that even our best submarines can barely reach it. So the theory says that aliens are using this to their advantage. If they have advanced ships that can move underwater as easily as they do in the sky, they could travel around the world completely unnoticed. Now, these types of crafts, they call them USOs, or unidentified submerged objects. There are stories from, Navy pilots and sailors who have seen strange things shoot out of the ocean at impossible speeds, or, dive straight into the water without making a splash. The theory says that these aren't man-made. They're alien ships coming in and out of underwater bases. Now, another part of the theory points to how often UFO sightings happen near oceans or large bodies of water. Places like the Pacific Ocean, the Bermuda Triangle, and even the coasts of California and Puerto Rico are known hotspots. The theory explains that this isn't just random, it's because there are hidden alien structures deep underwater in those areas. Some even say that there are entrances to underwater tunnels or ancient alien cities hidden inside trenches or under the ice in places like Antarctica. And because we explore space more than we explore our own oceans, the theory says that aliens can easily stay hidden, they can study us, and they can move around without being caught. So instead of, looking in the sky, the theory says that maybe we should be looking in the water. Theory number 2, aliens are interdimensional, not extraterrestrial. This theory says that aliens aren't actually coming from other planets or galaxies like people usually think. Instead, they're coming from other dimensions. Not outer space, but a different layer of reality that exists alongside ours. The idea is that there are multiple dimensions stacked on top of each other, like layers in a video game or different channels on a radio. We live in one and they live in another, but they can cross over into our world whenever they want. Now, this theory explains a lot of these strange things about aliens that don't really make that much sense, if they were just physical beings from another planet. Like how they seem to appear out of nowhere, they disappear instantly, or they move in ways that just, break our laws of physics. The theory says that's because they're not fully part of our dimension, so they're not stuck to our rules. That's why their ships can zigzag, they can teleport, or they can even turn invisible. It's not advanced technology, it's just that they're, slipping between dimensions. And another big part of this theory connects aliens with paranormal stuff. The theory explains that anything from aliens to ghosts to demons to, shadow people and, these other unexplained beings, they might all be the same kind of interdimensional entities. They just show up in different ways depending on how they're interacting with our world. So when someone sees an alien in their room at night or has, sleep paralysis, the theory says that it might not be a dream or a hallucination. It could be an interdimensional being, just phasing in. The theory also ties into ancient stories and myths. A lot of old civilizations talked about gods or beings from other realms visiting Earth. The theory says that those stories were actually describing interdimensional beings the same way people talk about aliens now. So instead of thinking aliens are traveling millions of miles across space, the theory says that they're just shifting from their dimension into ours. They're already here, they're just hidden in the spaces that, we just simply can't see. Theory number 3, any species advanced enough to find us wouldn't make contact. They'd study us the way that we study animals, ideally with minimal interference. Compare the average abduction story to the way we dart large animals, collect data, and leave them to wake a bit groggy and confused but unharmed. This theory explains that any alien species advanced enough to find Earth wouldn't actually make contact with us in the way that, most people would imagine. Like, they wouldn't just land on the White House lawn or, ask to speak to the president. Instead, they would study us from a distance, the same way humans study wild animals. We study them quietly, carefully, and, we don't change our natural behavior. Now, think about how scientists study lions or elephants in the wild. I mean, they don't walk up and introduce themselves. They hide in bushes, they track them, and sometimes they use tranquilizer darts to knock them out for a few minutes. Then they tag them, collect samples, take measurements, and leave before the animal wakes up. That way, the animal goes back to its normal life without, ever knowing what really happened to it. This theory says that aliens would treat us the exact same way. They wouldn't want to interfere or cause panic. They'd want to observe human behavior without changing it. And this is where the theory connects directly to alien abduction stories. It explains that a lot of people who claim to have been abducted describe the same basic experience. They lose time, they wake up confused, they feel groggy, and sometimes they even find, strange marks on their bodies. They remember being in a strange place, seeing bright lights or, weird beings, and then they just, wake up back in bed. The theory says that this is a lot like what happens to animals after they've been tagged or examined. I mean, they don't fully understand what happened to them. And just like we track migration or behavior patterns in animals, aliens could be tracking human development, our genetics, or even our emotional responses. And just like we sometimes, go back and study the same animal more than once, the theory says that aliens might revisit the same humans to gather long-term data. It's not about hurting anybody, it's just about collecting information in a way that keeps the experiment as natural as possible. So instead of thinking of aliens as invaders, this theory says that they're scientists, and we're basically the subjects in their research project. Theory number 4, that there is no one else and we are those advanced aliens. The universe is still in its toddler stage in age, and we are the first intelligent people. This theory says that there are no aliens visiting us, no advanced civilizations watching us, and no other intelligent life out there. And that's, not yet, at least. The theory explains that the universe is still incredibly young. Even though it's about 13.8 billion years old, that's, still considered early, speaking in cosmic time. So instead of looking for someone else, the theory says that we are the first. We are the advanced ones. We're the ones other civilizations will eventually discover, billions of years from now. Now think about how young the universe actually is. Stars are still forming, galaxies are still growing, and many planets are just now cooling down enough to support life. The theory says it makes sense that life is just getting started. Earth just happened to be one of the first places where everything lined up perfectly for intelligent life to form. And then here's where it gets, pretty interesting. The theory explains that we might be the aliens people will talk about in the future. If humans survive long enough to develop advanced space travel, we might end up visiting other planets and discovering primitive life forms. And to them, we'd be the mysterious beings from the sky, just like, how we imagine aliens today. The theory also points out how fast human civilization has developed. In just a few thousand years, we went from hunting with sticks to landing on the moon. And that's, of course, assuming that we did land on the moon, conspiracy theories and all. But in the grand scale of the universe, that's really just a blink of an eye. The theory says that that's not normal, and it could mean that, we're early or we're rare, or I guess our civilization is both of that. We're rare and early. You know what I'm saying? So instead of thinking aliens are hiding or maybe even avoiding us, the theory says that we're alone because the universe hasn't had enough time to grow other intelligent life. We're not waiting for aliens to show up. We technically are the aliens. We're the first spark of intelligence in a universe that is still, waking up. This bitch has barely fucking opened her eyes yet. Theory number 5, all the UFO sightings throughout history are just humans from the future on a time-traveling safari meant to observe how we were in the past. They are supposed to keep out of sight, but thanks to human/mechanical errors, there have been hiccups with their cloaking, which have resulted in being seen. That's why there have always been so many reports of them throughout history, but there have never been an attack. It's just us. This theory says that all of the UFO sightings people have had throughout history aren't aliens from another planet. They're actually just, us or humans from the future. Like, way in the future. The theory explains that at some point in time, we figured out how to travel back through time, and now people from that future use it to visit the past. Kind of like, how we go on safaris to observe wildlife, except instead of animals, they're observing how them or humans or us or whoever, how we used to live. Now here's where it gets, pretty interesting. The theory says that these future humans aren't supposed to, interact with us or, change anything. They're just supposed to watch. They use advanced cloaking technology to stay hidden, but like the theory said, sometimes that goes wrong. Maybe there's a glitch in the system, maybe the pilot had an error, or possibly even bad weather. But every now and then, the craft from the future becomes visible for a few seconds, and that's what people are seeing when they report a UFO. It's just a future human accidentally letting us get a glimpse of their time-traveling vehicle. The theory also explains why no one has ever been attacked by these UFOs. There's never been an alien invasion or no hostile landings, or, there's just been nothing like that. And it's because they aren't here to conquer Earth or to communicate with us. They're here to study us and document us. They're probably trying to write a history book or something. I don't know. But it's just like how people go to national parks and take pictures of, elk standing near a mountain or something like that. They aren't allowed to feed the elk or to touch them. It's basically the same rules apply here. It's humans observing humans, and the one humans are way older than the other humans. Or way more advanced, if that makes sense. Now, this also explains why UFO sightings have been happening for centuries. There's ancient paintings, there's old manuscripts, and there's even pilots during World War II who have reported seeing strange objects in the sky. The theory says that it's just different future tourists visiting, different eras. Like, shit, dude, if I could time travel, I'd go see World War II. Get a front row seat to World War II, baby. So when someone sees a flying saucer or a strange object in the sky, the theory says it isn't aliens at all. It's literally just us from the future on a high-tech field trip to see what life was like back when things were still, wild. Theory number 6. Abductees are remembering a confabulation of their birth and handling by doctors and don't know it. Now, this theory says that what a lot of people think are alien abduction memories are actually just broken, scrambled memories of their own birth. The theory explains that when someone is born, especially in, a hospital setting, the experience is pretty freaking intense. There are bright lights, there's strange figures wearing masks, they're also wearing gloves and they have gowns on, and there's just, a lot of unfamiliar sounds. A newborn's senses are just coming online and their brain is trying to make sense of the world for, of course, the very first time. The theory says that those early moments, especially if they were, stressful for the baby or even traumatic, it might get stored deep in the subconscious. The theory says that later in life, especially during hypnosis, dreams, or certain triggers, those deep memories can resurface. But since the adult mind can't make sense of the, raw, confusing memory of being born, it fills in the blanks with something, more understandable. And that's where the confabulation comes in. And all that means is that the brain mixes real memories with imagination to create a story that feels real, even if it didn't exactly happen like that. So when someone says they were on a cold table surrounded by strange beings with, large eyes under these blinding lights, the theory is just saying that they might actually be remembering the doctors and nurses from the day that they were born. When they say they were being poked with instruments or couldn't move or speak, the theory just explains that these could be memories of being handled right after delivery. Even the feeling of like floating could be connected to being carried or, lifted in those early moments. And I also saw someone like commented under this theory and was talking about like the probing, like, how some people have claimed the aliens stuck a rod up their butts. Like some people are like, hey, that's the thermometer, the alien didn't probe you, it was just the creepy doctor sticking a thermometer up your ass. Now, this theory also points out that these abductions often have a medical theme, like, they're either getting examined or there's a procedure being done on them. The theory says that that lines up, perfectly with what actually happens during birth. And because newborns don't understand language, emotion, or, identity yet, that the whole experience can feel alien and strange when, it's remembered, later on in life. So in short, this theory basically just says that alien abduction memories aren't about aliens at all. They're just confused memories out of the first moments we ever experienced, and we just don't really realize it. Theory number 7, the gas station theory. They've been stopping here to resupply on their way to planet Kolob for ages, and all of a sudden, those crazy humanids evolved. The theory says that Earth wasn't always special or important. In fact, for most of the universe's history, Earth was basically just a pit stop. The theory explains that advanced alien civilizations have been traveling through space for ages, even way before humans ever existed. And Earth was just one of those places that they stopped to rest or refuel or to, collect resources. Quite literally a gas station. I mean, sitting on a space highway. Earth wasn't really too exciting to them. It was just convenient, like that 7-Eleven you hit up every day for a pack of winter greens. Now here's where things kind of take a turn in this theory. So according to the theory, aliens had been using Earth as this refueling stop for millions of years. Maybe they were just collecting water or mining rare elements or taking a piss break, whatever it may be. Now, one of the big destinations in this theory is planet Kolob, which is a name sometimes linked to old religious texts or sci-fi ideas. But here it's basically used as the next major stop in the galaxy. So it goes Earth, and then, they hit the 7-Eleven, they get their winter greens, they take a piss, and then they go back to this planet, or I guess not go back, but then they go to this planet. So aliens kept, swinging by Earth. They were doing their thing. There was no problems. But then at some point, there was something pretty unexpected that happened. It was that, early humans started to evolve, and they were evolving pretty damn fast. The theory says that from the aliens' point of view, this was a complete surprise. Like, it's like, stopping at a gas station one day and finding out that all of the ants living in those little cracks have suddenly built a massive city around the 7-Eleven, and they invented nuclear power. Or like the unhoused fellas at the 7-Eleven, built a apartment complex right next to the 7-Eleven and somehow have nukes or something like that. Anyways, the theory also explains that aliens didn't see it coming, and now, they have a problem. Earth isn't just, a 7-Eleven anymore. It's home to a species that's, building rockets, that's detecting strange signals, and that are, just asking all these questions. So now the aliens have to either stay hidden, avoid us, or, figure out what to do about it. That's why the theory says that UFO sightings have increased in recent history. It's not an invasion, it's aliens checking in on a spot that they used to come visit all the time, only now it's, crawling with unpredictable humans. What used to be a quiet gas station turned into a zoo exhibit that they just, can't ignore. It's like your neighborhood 7-Eleven is getting renovations, and you're like, damn, like I'm not gonna go in there because it's a little too fancy for me. But look at it. That was my 7-Eleven, and now it's a fucking Marriott. Theory number 8, that our planet houses the perfect scenario for continued life with a sun that won't go away for a long time. Meanwhile, an advanced planet that houses life from a far away galaxy's sun is going to die soon. As the advanced planet inhabitants realize that their sun's death is inevitable, they are scouting new places to live. They are watching us destroy our planet and are getting mad because we are essentially ruining their future home. If current international conditions lead to a third world war, they will intervene and take us all out for the sake of keeping their investment intact. Whew. The theory says that somewhere in a faraway galaxy, there's a planet with an extremely advanced species living on it. This planet has been around for a long time, and its people have mastered space travel, technology, and survival, but the only problem is that their sun is dying. And when a sun dies, it either turns into a white dwarf, explodes into a supernova, or collapses in on itself. Either way, it becomes unlivable. The theory explains that the aliens know they don't have forever. Their time is running out, and they've been searching for a new home. They've been busy on Zillow, I'll say that. Now, here's where Earth comes in. The theory says that Earth is actually the perfect backup plan. We have stable temperatures, we have a protective atmosphere, we have water, and most importantly, we have a sun that's not going anywhere for a few billion years. And that's only if I got nothing to say about it. To them, Earth, is prime real estate. So they've been watching it for a while, possibly even for centuries. They've been sending out probes, they've been observing our behavior, and they've been figuring out if it's going to be safe when they finally, pack up and make the move cross galaxy or cross universe or whatever. But basically, here's the problem. The theory explains that humans are basically, trashing the place. There's pollution, there's war, there's nuclear weapons, there's deforestation, there's climate change. I mean, from their perspective, we're not taking care of the one planet they need to survive. And I mean, it's not just annoying to them, it's, threatening their entire future. Now, the theory says that this is where things get serious. I mean, if humans push too far, especially if we start something like a, third world war or trigger a full-on planetary disaster, they're not just going to, sit back, kick up their feet, have a hamburger, coffee. The theory proposes that if Earth becomes too damaged or unstable, I mean, these aliens will intervene. And not just in like, a peaceful way. I mean, the theory says that they will wipe us out entirely to protect the planet. And it's not out of cruelty. Like, I'm not saying these aliens are cruel, but it's because, Earth is now their only investment. I mean, it's their lifeline. They need Earth. They can't afford to let us, dirty humans ruin their, new house on Zillow. They don't want to do any renovations. They just want to move into a nice house. So according to the theory, we're being watched closely. And if we go too far, we won't be fighting, each other. We'll be fighting them. Theory number 9, that humans are not from Earth, that we terraformed Earth and annihilated all dinosaurs so we humans can survive on the planet. We couldn't coexist given their size, so whoever chose this planet to settle on had to get rid of the dinosaurs first. This theory says that humans didn't evolve naturally on Earth. I mean, instead, we came from somewhere else in the universe. This could have been from a different planet or another star system or even, a whole nother galaxy. The theory explains that Earth was chosen as a place to be settled because it had the right ingredients for life. I mean, it had water, it had oxygen, it had gravity, it had temperature, and, it also had a solid surface. I mean, that helps. But, of course, there was one big problem, and that was the dinosaurs. So the theory says that dinosaurs were already here and thriving when our species or our creators, showed up. But because they were massive and they were territorial and they were just, completely dominant, there was no way that humans could live alongside them. The theory explains that, trying to survive or build any kind of civilization with giant dinosaurs roaming around, it wasn't possible. So according to the theory, the solution was simple. It was just to wipe all them fuckers out. The theory proposes that the asteroid that supposedly caused the extinction of the dinosaurs around, was it like 66 million years ago, wasn't just, random. It wasn't natural and it wasn't intentional. It was a precision strike meant to reset the planet. By getting rid of the dinosaurs, Earth was cleared out and made safe for humans or, human-like beings to arrive and to thrive. Quick little rhyme there. And then comes the next step, terraforming. The theory says the Earth was slowly transformed to match the needs of human life. Things like, atmospheric composition, land mass stability, and even the temperature range were all adjusted over time. Basically, Earth was engineered to become the perfect home for humans. And the reason why humans sometimes feel like we don't, fully belong on Earth, like we have issues with getting sunburnt and allergies and, even back pain from gravity, is just because this planet wasn't originally ours. We were placed here, or we placed ourselves here. So the theory says that dinosaurs didn't just go extinct. They were eliminated so humans could move in and just take over their planet. It was a clean slate, a new listing on Zillow, and we were the new tenants. Theory number 10, the Battle of L.A. This theory focuses on a real event that happened during the early morning hours of February 25th, 1942, just a couple months after the US entered World War II. Now, air raid sirens went off in Los Angeles, and military forces believed that LA was under attack. Searchlights lit up the sky, and anti-aircraft guns fired over 1,400 rounds at an unidentified flying object that people swore that they saw in the sky. Explosions shook buildings, shrapnel fell from the air, and, even 5 civilians ended up dying. A few died from heart attacks, and others just died from accidents caused by the chaos. So then here's where the conspiracy theory kicks in. The theory says that this wasn't a false alarm or a weather balloon. It was a real UFO sighting. Not a plane, not a Japanese attack, but a flying object not from Earth. The theory explains that the military saw something massive, hovering or moving slowly in the sky, and they just panicked. Multiple witnesses reported seeing something metallic, disc-shaped, and completely unaffected by the constant barrage of gunfire. The theory says the military couldn't bring it down, and that's what, really scared them. Over 1,000 rounds of artillery, and, whatever was up there was just, sitting up in the air chilling like nothing happened. The famous black and white photo from the night shows multiple searchlights all locked onto one spot in the sky, surrounded by explosions. The theory says that this photo is evidence that, something solid solid was there. Afterward, the government said it was a false alarm, and at first they blamed nerves, and they later just changed the story to say it was probably just a weather balloon. But the theory explains that the military had no idea what they were dealing with, so they covered it up. So the Battle of LA theory says that this wasn't a wartime mistake. It was one of the first major encounters with an unidentified flying object, and the military tried and failed, to shoot it down. Theory number 11, the Fermi Paradox. The original idea behind the Fermi Paradox is simple. I mean, the universe is huge, it's full of stars, and it's filled with planets. There are billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, and many of those stars have planets. So with all of that space and time, the question is, where the hell is everybody? If intelligent life is common, we should have seen signs of it by now. Whether that be radio signals, spacecrafts, something, but we haven't. So that's the paradox. Now here's where the conspiracy theory version steps in. The theory says that we have seen something, like a lot, but it's all just being covered up. The theory explains that governments and secret organizations already know that we aren't alone, and they've known for a long time. And the reason the general public doesn't know is because that information is being kept hidden on purpose. The theory proposes that aliens may have already visited Earth, or they're watching us quietly. It says that sightings, encounters, crashes, and even communication have happened, but they're either erased from public records or being written off as nonsense. You've got events like Roswell, like the Battle of LA that we just talked about, and just other, countless UFO sightings. That's seen as direct proof that we've had contact with these beings or aliens. Another version of the theory says that advanced civilizations purposely avoid us. The theory explains that once a species reaches a certain level of intelligence, they don't just go around, broadcasting their presence. Instead, they go quiet. They hide. And that's actually known as the zoo hypothesis, which basically just says that we're like animals being observed in a galactic nature reserve. They're watching us grow and evolve, but they're, not allowed to intervene. Kind of like, scientists watching wild animals without, disturbing their habitat. There's also the idea that aliens are walking among us already, but they're, in disguise, or they're basically monitoring us from bases hidden underground or, under the ocean. This theory says that that's why the Fermi Paradox exists. We're not seeing aliens because someone doesn't want us to see them. So, in simple terms, the Fermi Paradox theory isn't a mystery of, why haven't we found aliens? It's a cover up. We found the aliens a long time ago. We're just, not being told. Theory number 12. Aliens influenced our evolution. This theory says that human beings didn't evolve the way science, normally explains it. Instead of just going from apes to early humans over millions of years, something or someone intervened. The theory says that around 200,000 years ago, Earth was, already full of life, but something strange happened during that time. Homo sapiens, which of course is us, suddenly became, much more advanced. We developed language, tools, culture, and, complex thinking way faster than expected. The theory says that that's because aliens stepped in and modified our DNA. Almost like, a genetic upgrade. Like they all had, the VC, stored up, and they made us all 99 overalls. Or I guess, some of us 99 overalls. There's a few folks who I've seen out there that are probably, capped at like a 75, which, is pretty fucked up, but whatever. Anyways, the theory proposes that aliens either mixed their DNA with primitive humans or just altered our genetics completely. This is kind of like what we do today with gene editing or cloning, but on a, much bigger level. The idea is that we were either created as a new species or evolved quickly because of all of the alien tech and knowledge. And it doesn't, just stop there. The theory also says that aliens might have acted like gods to early humans. That's why there's so many ancient stories and texts and drawings, showing flying objects and star beings and, even gods coming down from the sky. Civilizations like the Sumerians, the Egyptians, and the Mayans all described sky visitors. Theory says that those were actually aliens just visiting us to check on their creation, which of course their creation was us. Some say the reason that we have such advanced leaps in tech, like building the pyramids or early astronomy, is because the aliens gave us knowledge early on. So the theory says that humans didn't just evolve naturally. I mean, we were watched, changed, and, helped by aliens who either created us on purpose or used it as kind of a project. And even today, they might be keeping an eye on us, just waiting to see how far we'll go. Theory number 13, Stonehenge was built by aliens when a ship crash landed on Earth. They needed something to prop their ship on to do maintenance work, so they built a Stonehenge as a shipjack. This theory says that a long time ago, an alien spacecraft either crash landed or had some kind of technical failure while flying near Earth. The ship needed repairs, but since Earth didn't have the right technology or tools, the aliens had to build something to lift their ship up. Kind of like how we use a car jack to work underneath a vehicle. And that's where Stonehenge comes in. The theory explains that the large stones of Stonehenge were carefully placed to act as a giant support structure to lift and stabilize their spacecraft so that they could do repairs. Basically, they made a giant alien version of a car lift using the heavy stone blocks available on Earth. Now, the stones at Stonehenge, are massive. Some even weigh over like 20 tons. Now, the theory says that regular humans back then couldn't have moved or placed them so precisely with the tools that they had at the time. And that's where, alien technology comes in. The theory proposes that the aliens either used advanced anti-gravity tech or some kind of, tractor beam to move the stones and build the structure in a very specific way. The layout of Stonehenge, the circles, the alignment, the angles, that's all said to, be it's not random. The theory says that it's not a temple or a calendar like some believe, but actually a technical design, almost like scaffolding or support beams. The upright stones worked like support columns, and the horizontal stones across the top helped distribute the weight of the ship. After the ship was repaired, the theory says that the aliens just, left the structure behind. That's why Stonehenge doesn't seem to serve any, obvious purpose now. It was never meant to be used again. It was just a temporary tool for maintenance. So to sum it up, this theory says that Stonehenge was never a human monument or a spiritual site. It was literally just an alien repair station. Theory number 15. Alien life could be based on silicone instead of carbon like it is on Earth because silicone can bond with the same number of elements as carbon. However, that would mean that if aliens came into contact with oxygen, they would crystallize and solidify. That would mean they would be deathly allergic to water and oxygen, something that covers the majority of our planet's surface. That's why aliens don't come visit. The theory says that alien life, might not be based on carbon like life on Earth. Instead, it could be based on silicone. Now, carbon is the main building block of, all life here. It's in our DNA, it's in our cells, it's in our proteins. It's pretty much in everything. But silicone is, really similar to carbon in one key way. It can form the same number of chemical bonds. That means it's capable of building complex molecules too, just like, carbon does. So the theory says that in other parts of the universe, especially on planets with different environments, silicone-based life might, have evolved instead of carbon-based life. But here's the catch. Silicone reacts very differently with oxygen. When silicone comes into contact with oxygen, it forms silicon dioxide, which is basically just, glass or sand. And that's no bueno if you're a living thing. The theory explains that if a silicone-based alien came to Earth and breathed in our oxygen-rich atmosphere, it would start to crystallize. Basically, its body would turn into, a solid, like it was being turned into glass from the inside out. And it even gets worse for these, silicone-based aliens. Earth is covered in water, and water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So it's not just the air that would be dangerous. Even touching water would be, extremely toxic. The theory says that this makes Earth one of the most dangerous places in the galaxy for silicone-based life. It's like their version of, acid rain. That's why the theory says that aliens don't come to visit. It's not that they don't know we're here or that, they don't care. It's that our entire planet is poisonous to them. The air, the water, the weather, everything would be fatal. So instead of making contact, they just stay away. And it's not because they're scared of us, but because our planet, would literally kill them on arrival. Those fools would be turned to stone or turned to glass, pretty much immediately. But then I guess my only question with this theory is that people have, reported seeing aliens on Earth. Like there's that one, what was it, in Australia, where all the school kids saw the alien ship land and the aliens were like walking around and shit. Theory number 16, the Great Filter Theory. Now this theory basically just tries to answer the big question, Why haven't we found any other intelligent life in the universe yet? Like, with all those stars and, all of the planets out there, just where is everybody? Well, the theory says that there's something called the Great Filter. Now, a filter here means a big, hard obstacle that stops most civilizations from making it to the point where they can explore space or communicate across galaxies. It's like a checkpoint that almost, all life fails to pass. The theory explains that this filter could happen at any stage of life's development. For example, it might be super hard for simple chemicals to turn into life in the first place. Or maybe it's really rare for simple life to evolve into complex, intelligent beings. Or it could be that once a species gets advanced enough to build technology, they often destroy themselves with war, environmental damage, or uncontrolled science. Now, the conspiracy side of this theory says that the Great Filter might be something terrifying and hidden. Maybe it's some kind of cosmic force or a natural disaster that wipes out intelligent life before it can spread. Or maybe there's a secret group of aliens or AI machines that kill off emerging civilizations to keep control of the galaxy. The theory also proposes that maybe the Great Filter is still ahead of us. That means, we might be at a dangerous point where our own technology or actions could cause human extinction. That could be nuclear war, climate collapse, or artificial intelligence running out of control. So the theory says that the reason that we don't see alien civilization isn't because they don't exist, it's because, almost all of them hit the Great Filter and never got past it. In short, the Great Filter is a giant mysterious barrier preventing intelligent life from becoming spacefaring or visible. And that might include us, which is why, this theory has kind of a dark and urgent vibe. It's basically telling us just to watch out because, surviving the Great Filter is the hardest thing any species could do. Theory number 17, ancient aliens. Aliens came to Earth thousands of years ago to mine precious metals and collect other natural resources. They got tired of doing the work themselves, so they decided to modify Neanderthal man genetically with a splash of their own genes, convince him to do said mining in exchange for technology and spiritual guidance. Early man then worships these sky beings as gods. Dude, people have read it, just don't know how to form correct sentences or paragraphs or whatever it may be, man. This theory says that thousands of years ago, advanced aliens came to Earth. Now, these weren't just, curious explorers. The theory explains that they had a specific goal, which was mining precious metals and collecting natural resources. I mean, Earth was rich in things like gold, silver, and, other valuable minerals, so these aliens saw it as a perfect spot to gather what they needed. But the theory says that these aliens got tired of doing all of the hard labor themselves. I mean, mining is tough work, even with advanced tech, so instead of doing it on their own, the aliens decided to make a deal with the planet's native inhabitants at the time, which was early humans and more specifically Neanderthals. The theory explains that aliens genetically modified Neanderthal man by mixing their own genes with theirs. This genetic boost made early humans smarter and more capable. And this wasn't just accidental. I mean, this was purposeful engineering to create workers who could help mine and gather resources more efficiently. Now, here's the interesting part. The aliens didn't just force these early humans to work. Instead, they convinced them to cooperate by offering something very valuable in return, which was technology and spiritual guidance. The theory says that these aliens showed early humans new ways to, build tools, to understand the stars, and even introduce them to early forms of religion and worship. And that's why the theory says that, many ancient civilizations worshipped sky beings or gods who came down from the stars. I mean, these weren't just, myths or stories, they were memories of those alien visitors who helped shape human civilization by providing knowledge and power in exchange for mining work. The theory also points to ancient texts, monuments and cave paintings, showing strange flying objects and beings as proof that aliens were working alongside humans. So in a nutshell, this theory just explains that human evolution and civilization as kind of a partnership between aliens and early humans. Aliens got their resources mined, humans got smarter and started building civilizations, and the whole process just laid the foundation for, our modern society. Theory number 18, Project Bluebeam. This theory says that there's a secret government or group planning to stage a massive global event using advanced technology, and this event is designed to completely change the world's beliefs and control people like never before. The theory explains that Project Bluebeam involves using powerful holograms and mind control to create the illusion of a fake second coming or a huge religious event where gods or aliens appear in the sky. Now, the idea is that this holographic projection would be so realistic that everyone on Earth would see it happening live no matter where they were at. The theory says that this fake event, would be used to trick people into believing a new global religion or new world order is starting. And the purpose is to unite everyone under one government, one belief system, and one set of rules, completely controlled by whoever is behind Project Bluebeam. Now, the technology part is basically the key thing here. The theory explains that governments already have super advanced hologram tech and satellite systems capable of projecting images in the sky that look like three-dimensional and lifelike. This could be combined with low-frequency radio waves or, other ways to influence the brain, making people feel emotions or even hear voices, which, is just flat out mind control. Now, the theory says that there will be several stages. First, they'll create earthquakes and fake archaeological discoveries to shake up current beliefs. Then they'll project images of gods, angels, or aliens in the sky, speaking to people in their own language to convince them that this event is actually real. Finally, this chaos and fake spiritual awakening will allow the controllers to introduce a new global government or system, and there won't be that much resistance. So in simple terms, Project Bluebeam is a plan to fake a worldwide religious or alien event to manipulate humanity, control beliefs, and just, take total power. It's like the ultimate mass illusion designed to reshape the world overnight. Theory number 19, the theory that aliens have been aware of Earth and mankind since the first tests of the nuclear bombs, that it set off a beacon to other intelligent life, that man has reached a certain milestone and could now be ready to be observed and possibly welcomed into the community of interstellar life. This theory explains that when the humans conducted the very first nuclear bomb tests in the mid-20th century, those powerful explosions sent out a unique signal into space. Now, nuclear bombs release an enormous amount of energy, including intense radiation and electromagnetic waves that travel far beyond Earth's atmosphere. The theory says that this sudden burst of energy acted like a beacon. It's like Earth flipped a, we're here switch that, could be detected by every intelligent life in the universe. The theory proposes that before those tests, Earth was basically quiet on the cosmic radar. But once we started messing with nuclear weapons, that noise in space told, any nearby advanced civilization that humans had crossed a major milestone. Now, nuclear technology is seen as a big deal because it shows the ability to manipulate atomic energy, which means a civilization is advanced and possibly ready to join the club of interstellar species. Now, the theory says that since this signal went out, some aliens have been, watching us more closely. Maybe they're waiting to see how we handle this new power, whether we destroy ourselves or mature enough to join other intelligent species in the galaxy. The theory also suggests that this is why reports of UFO sightings and alien encounters increased after the 1940s and 1950s. Right after the nuclear tests. It's like the aliens took notice and started paying more attention. So in simple terms, this theory explains that nuclear bomb tests didn't just affect Earth physically. They sent a message out into space announcing that humans have arrived on the technological scene. That's why aliens might be watching, waiting, or even preparing to welcome us into a larger cosmic community. Theory number 20, Bigfoot is a hyper-intelligent dimensional traveling being and either works with the Greys or against them. This theory says Bigfoot is way more than just, a giant ape or an animal hiding in the woods. Instead, Bigfoot is a highly intelligent creature with abilities beyond what we normally think. The theory proposes that Bigfoot uses these dimensional shifts to appear and disappear, which is why sightings are so rare and mysterious. It's not just hiding or running away, it's actually just, slipping between realities. Now, the theory also involves the Greys, and, the Greys are basically just the classic alien description that you always hear when, people talk about aliens. It's basically just, the big heads, the black eyes, and these people or these beings are reported in UFO and abduction stories. The theory says that Bigfoot either works with the Greys or opposes them, but either way there's a connection between the Greys and Bigfoot. Now, if Bigfoot works with the Greys, it might be part of some alien experiment or surveillance program on Earth. Maybe Bigfoot helps the Greys keep an eye on humans or protect certain areas from intruders, almost like a little guardian or something like that. But if Bigfoot opposes the Greys, then it could be seen as, a protector of Earth, trying to keep humans safe from alien interference or control. In this scenario, Bigfoot might, be fighting back against the Greys' plans to manipulate or harm humanity. This theory explains that Bigfoot's hyperintelligence allows it to understand advanced technology and possibly communicate in ways that humans, don't fully grasp yet. Some say it might even have psychic abilities or ways to influence human thoughts and emotions. This theory says that Bigfoot is not just some wild animal. I mean, it's a powerful, smart, multi-dimensional being with a secret role involving aliens, either as an ally or a rival. Its mysterious nature comes from its ability to move through realities and operate beyond human understanding. Theory number 21, the dark forest theory. Now I know we have covered this theory in, a previous video, but it does tie into aliens and other intelligent life that could possibly be out there. So let's just real quick go over it one more time. Basically, this theory tries to explain why we haven't heard from any alien civilizations yet, even though the universe is huge and technically should be full of life. It says the universe is like a dark forest and every civilization is like a hunter hiding quietly, just, trying not to be found. The theory explains that in this forest, every species has two big problems. First, they don't know if other civilizations are friendly or hostile. Second, they don't know what those other civilizations are capable of. Because of this uncertainty, the safest move for any civilization is to stay quiet and hidden, so I guess they, don't get attacked. Like if you were in a dark forest and you knew that something else was in the forest with you, but you don't know what it is, you would 100% try and hide and not be found by this other thing. Like shit, if you were in a dark forest and you heard like, a bear or a tiger or something like that, you wouldn't just be in the middle of the forest making a bunch of noise. You would be silent and you would try to hide from these, bears or tigers or chinchillas or whatever's in a forest. Anyways, the theory proposes that if a civilization broadcasts its location or sends out signals, it's like, shining a flashlight in the dark forest. It might attract the attention of dangerous hunters. So civilizations keep silent and, they avoid any contact or signals that could give away their position. This theory says that this explains the Fermi Paradox. And for some reason, if you guys already forgot what the Fermi Paradox is, which nice memory, by the way, it basically just asks, why with so many planets and stars that we haven't detected any alien life. And the dark forest theory just says it's because everyone is basically too scared to make any noise. And then this theory gets a little darker. The theory also suggests that if a civilization finds another one, the natural response might be to destroy it, just remove the threat completely, because, no one can, be sure if the other side is peaceful or, planning to attack. So preemptive strikes are, a survival strategy. Like if you find the bear or the tiger or the, chinchilla first in the dark forest, are you gonna attack it first because it might attack you? Like you don't know what it's gonna do. Basically the same thing in the dark forest hypothesis or the theory. So in simple terms, it just paints the universe as a dangerous place where silence, is survival, and revealing yourself could mean instant death. It explains why aliens might stay hidden, why, UFOs might be rare or cautious, and why we don't hear friendly messages from space. Basically, the dark forest theory just says the universe is quiet because it's full of scared, cautious civilizations that are all hiding to protect themselves from being wiped out. Theory number 22. My theory is that aliens are just like us. They might not look like us, but their lives revolve around work and family and friends. There are probably billions of aliens who hate their jobs, are lonely, and are just trying to get by. And there are billions that look up at the stars and wondering if there are aliens out there and what they would be like. This theory says that even though aliens might not, look like humans, their lives probably revolve around the same basic things we deal with every day. You got work, you got family, you got friendships, you got finding your closest, vape shop and just, trying to get through life. The theory explains that across the vast universe, there could be billions of alien beings who have jobs they hate, that, feel lonely sometimes, fiend for nicotine, and deal with stress and challenges, just like people here on Earth. Now, the theory proposes that these aliens, have social lives and families, meaning they build relationships and care about loved ones. They might have traditions, they might have cultures, and, they probably have hobbies that are probably, different, from ours. But, at the core, they are just living life, trying to make sense of their existence. Like us, they might have days filled with boredom, excitement, worries, or, hope. And just like humans look up at the stars wondering if there's life out there, the theory says that aliens are probably doing the exact same thing. I mean, looking up at their own skies, asking if there are other beings somewhere else, wondering, what those beings are like. The aliens are just, ripping a jewel, fucking, watching an alien conspiracy theorist talk about, if humans are real or not, The theory explains that this perspective changes how we think about aliens. I mean, they're not these scary or super powerful creatures, but they're, just beings who are super vulnerable and are just trying to get by in the universe. It says that aliens might have similar hopes and fears, like wanting to be understood, to find meaning, and to connect with others. So in simple terms, I mean, this theory just, paints aliens as everyday beings with lives full of ups and downs, emotions and routines. I mean, just like us. It makes the idea of extraterrestrials, I mean, way more relatable and, way more human, turning them into fellow travelers in a vast cosmic journey rather than mysterious strangers. Isn't it funny to think, though, that there could be an alien on a planet that we don't know about, just like freaking hitting a vape, dude? Like, that's hilarious. Theory number 23, the burnout theory. The anomaly of intelligent life is actually normal, and the normal outcome of intelligent life is extinction. Perhaps we aren't the first or last, but no life is ever destined to meet each other or leave their planet before their own self-destruction. This theory says that the existence of intelligent life is actually pretty normal in the universe. It's not rare or special, but what is unusual is for intelligent life to survive for very long. The theory proposes that the typical or, normal path for intelligent civilizations is extinction, meaning they tend to destroy themselves before they get a chance to reach other planets or meet other alien civilizations. Now, the theory explains that many intelligent species might rise up or develop technology and, maybe get to a certain point, maybe like us, and then they just, burn out. This could mean anything from running out of resources, causing environmental collapse, engaging in war, or making mistakes with powerful technologies like nuclear weapons. It's like they reach a peak and then hit a wall that they just can't get past. And the kicker is, the theory says that we probably aren't the first civilization to go through this cycle, and we likely, won't be the last. There could be many others before us who have reached a similar stage but ended up wiping out before making contact or, leaving their own planets. That's why we don't see signs of advanced alien civilizations everywhere. I mean, the theory also explains that this is why the universe seems so quiet, and it's because, intelligent life rarely lasts long enough to explore space or communicate across galaxies. The chances of two civilizations being alive at the same time and able to meet up is incredibly low. So the burnout theory, I mean, paints a pretty sobering picture. It says that intelligent life tends to self-destruct before it can grow beyond its home planet. Meeting other intelligent beings or traveling to the stars is not the usual outcome. It's more like the exception. Life's natural path might be, rising up, burning bright, and then fading out, all without ever reaching out to others. That's why, according to this theory, we might be alone for now, but not because life can't exist, elsewhere. It's because survival past a certain point is basically the real challenge. Alrighty, y'all. Well, those have been 23 of some of the craziest alien theories that I found on Reddit. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love researching and just thinking about alien conspiracy theories. Like, dude, could you imagine if there was, other beings out there that are just like us? Like, just like imagine a alien going to a bar and like having a beer. Like, that's wild to me. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel with those post notifications on. Also, let me know down in the comments what theory was your favorite, or maybe a theory that, you thought could be true, or just, found something interesting. I mean, believe it or not, I do read all of your comments, and I like hearing your guys' theories and thoughts on the theories. Alrighty, well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.